as I have told you guys that we are going to talk about modern Python today. And I was telling you that there are a lot of people out there in the market who really want to learn Python. So whenever you are learning some new things in computer sciences, it doesn't even matter that you belong to a computer sciences background, or you should have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. It doesn't even matter. So it's all about innovation and creation. So I have seen a lot of people working in Python, and the people who really looking forward of learning new stuff in Python. So at this point, there are like a lot of things in Python, and today's agenda is actually going to be to discuss those things and to tell you that what are the things apart from the one that you have already experienced as a experienced person, or as a beginner, you should know that what makes Python different from all other languages. Okay, so we should begin with this. So, according to the trend analysis, as you all people are over here and want to really know about Python, so let me tell you that this is the analysis that I have picked up from Stack Overflow. And according to that, Python is actually the most popular, distinguished language right now. It's the third most popular technology. And the key concept over here is this, that Python is definitely used as a backend language. So the comparison that is done in the market is is among the backend frameworks and languages. So we have got Node.js as an environment of JavaScript, and it's not like cutting down Python right now, because Python is more distinguished than Node.js. So it's the third most popular technology, and a lot of products right now are already developed and are in process of migrating those developed product from some other XYZ framework towards Python's framework. So let us understand the market of Python. Why Python? It's very important to know that if you're going for something, you should know that what is the reason that you should pick that single thing. So let me tell you guys that Python is an easy language to learn and use. So you're going to see, literally, I have seen a lot of people in my career. I have my younger brother. He's actually, he just passed his school and he is actually a Python developer. So to be word perfect over here, that Python is a language that any single person can learn very easily compared to Java, C++, C Sharp, because it's having a lot of short syntax, and you've got a lot of ways to learn the basics, and this is the reason, because it is easy to learn and easy to use, because you can like code in it with short syntax, and there is no need to have the configurations files and that kind of stuff. So it saves you a lot of from a lot of hurdles. And the other point why Python is so much of involved right now is this, that it's a mature language and it has a great support right now in the community. So when I say that great support, it means that whenever you're coding, it comes to you that you're facing a lot of errors. It's like the logical errors sometimes, or syntax error, or when you're working with frameworks, there is thing that is in your mind, like making logics, and at the point you get stuck due to some dependency. So you don't need to worry about that at those times, because there's a great community of Stack Overflow, which is actually there to help you out in the things that you're like facing. You can report new things and you're going to get a quick answer on them. And there's like a great documentation of Python. Even a single person, an individual person who really is like a beginner level Pythonese or Pythonista, we call the people who really love Python, we do call them Pythonista. So they actually are writing their own blogs. So it's very easy to filter out anything that you're like, the hurdles that you're like facing while coding. and that is the best thing that I like about Python. So coming to the next point, so when we talk about the language, it's just like a piece of cloth that is going to be on sale in the market. And whenever a celebrity buys some clothes, that cloth automatically gets converted into the brand. So right over here, the same case is with Python. So they're like huge master's mind sitting in the market, huge people, the people that are quite distinguished in technical world right now. They have acquired Python for their products. The most distinguished market of Google, they're like using recently, like they have built a lot of things in Python. They're using inter-process communications, and everything that is being done in Python. And Facebook has developed a lot of stuff. Can any one of you tell me a single brand name that you think that is actually using Python? Do you really know about some XYZ product that is being developed in Python and is quite like distinguished right now that everyone should know about it? Can anyone answer over here, or should I pick one of you guys?
I believe YouTube is using Python.
Oh, yeah. Exactly, you're dead right about this. Who was this? Can I please know your name?
This is Asad Maksud.
Asad Maksud. Yeah, yeah, Asad, you have hit the nail on the head right now. Because, they're like YouTube is actually consuming a lot of microservices. And when it comes to microservices, the best choice right now is in Python because it has got a lot of frameworks that are going to make you build you a microservice within no time. So a lot of things on YouTube, it's not just the microservices, but machine learning platforms, artificial intelligence, they all are being developed in Python. Okay. And another point where it actually wins is this, that it has hundred of Python libraries and frameworks, and these individual frameworks, they represent each different domain in computer science's world. So right now you can see that they're like matplotlib. Okay, this is for plotting charts and data visualization. That is actually the library which is being introduced in Python. Then we have got SciPy, sorry. It's actually for the engineering application sciences and mathematics, because everything in this human world is surely the outcome of the algorithms, and that algorithms are much more related to the mathematics. And then we have got Beautiful Soup. It's actually for parsing the HTML and scrapping out the data that is sitting on the web pages. And then we have got NumPy for scientific computing. Uh, I remember this NumPy. I've seen a lot of places where it's been used. So I really didn't introduce myself, but I thought to introduce you while I'm going to tell you about different things, because this is the way that I can share my experience with you. So yeah, so I have been like working in a company which was in Texas, and it was related to machine learning and data sciences. They were like a huge people in artificial intelligence market. So they used to use NumPy for like managing their data and to calculate useful information out of it. And it was like super fast, and believe me, it is a most powerful tool right now in the market, which is used by data scientists, data analysts. It is like something that can like bring you a lot of big things within no time. But for it, there is one requirement, that your RAM should be the good one. So it's very good product right now. And then we have got Django for server-side web development. Django is right now the most distinguished framework among those ones that are being used by different developers and marketplace people. I believe that you guys know about Ruby on Rails, you know about Node.js, Express, you know about PHP Laravel. So these are sort of the frameworks that are usually used to connect up with the databases and to provide the front end with the useful information. And right now the Django is sitting on the top of it because it has solved a lot of problems. It has got the tools, the commands that you simply have to run, and it is going to make you a basic website within no time. So Django is actually the love framework right now. So the security purpose, that is the security boundaries that are captured in Django are like amazing. It's all about the experiences that Django has got from different frameworks right now in the market and has a very improved version of security. And I believe that Django is going to be the most highly paid frameworks in upcoming years because they are like working like they're like hitting the roofs and they're like plugging away to bring new things within the framework right now. And I'm utterly convinced that Django is going to be the most distinguished one day in the world. So it has got a very good name still now in the world, but they're like competitors right now. They're sitting in the market, which are also working as a back-end languages. You can say that it's Express. They're like struggling. They're like hitting the roofs right now. But still, Django is way far better than those, I believe. And as I've told you about the microservices, I believe I've told you, but you're going to look that in future, like in this slide, you're going to see that there is the section where I'm going to explain you about microservices. So whenever we are like making different microservices, we are always using the backend frameworks, and Django is one of those that are being used over there. Okay. So coming to the next thing, yeah, the efficiency and the speed. This is something that is good about Python. But one thing to tell you over here is this, that most of you people, they don't really know about the way the nature of Python, that how it works. It is actually the interpreter language right now. And interpreter language, most of the times they're like slow. But with Python, the management of the code base, the management of the built-in libraries, they're like amazing. So they are at the back. Some of these libraries, they do use the compiler, that is JIT, just-in-time compiler, that is being used by Python. So it speeds up the work, and you really know about the efficiency of it. So when it comes about the speed and efficiency, these things are like two different things. Efficiency is something that actually provides you the accuracy of the work that you're like planning to do. So Python has always ruled in this section. And the most important thing that you people are always like watching on the ads that comes on YouTube, and like different places. Whenever I go on YouTube or I go on Google, I most oftenly see the ads that they're like coming, and the people, they should really know about these technologies and terms: big data, machine learning, and cloud computing. Exactly. So the cloud computing, machine learning, big data are some of the hottest trends right now in the computer sciences world right now, and which helps lots of organization to transform and improve their processes and workflows. Whatever you see, as Asad just told us, that this is the YouTube that is like using Python right now. And you know what, the major part of Python they use is for machine learning and big data. So whatever you see in terms of searching new videos, and the other day that you're coming on your laptop or your screen, you're going to notice that there are quite big of suggestions that are alongside at the right side of your panel bar. So this is the reason behind this is the machine learning. The technique, the algorithm that is sitting behind that cause is machine learning. The YouTube has got a very strong recommendation system, and this is the outcome of machine learning. So machine learning has made this world a better place to live right now, and Python has contributed a lot in machine learning. Most of the people, they do know about Python from data sciences and machine learning, because this is the major part where it gets up in the market, because Python was actually intended to make big systems and to to step in the artificial intelligence world more accurately. Okay, so understanding the new generation. So this section actually represents some of the new trends in the world right now. And off the top of my head, I believe that these trends are those trends that are going to really change the world. And I have seen like a lot of people, they don't really know about these trends, that either they're in the market or not. So let me rationalize a bit of them. This is the microservice concept right over here that you can see on the screen. So microservices is actually changing world of backend engineers. It's like making a lot of new things come out of the way, that is scalability, that is actually the resilient kind of stuff that is being introduced by microservices. So the concept over microservices is here like this, that in real world you have seen the people making a lot of big houses, like 2 canals, 3 canals. Okay, so they have got a single electricity board to that house. So when it comes to the electricity supply of, you oftenly see that the whole house, it just runs out of the electricity supply. So the concept over here is that, uh, for going like, for the big houses, you should pick the small houses like 5 marlas, and you should have a separate electricity boards to it, attached to it. And when it comes to the electricity supply off, you know you're not going to face the same situation with all the other houses. So the concept over here is that the electricity board represents as the database, you know in the house, and house itself represents the service. It can be a RESTful service that is actually communicating with databases. So when one thing gets wrong, it doesn't affect the other things. This is the this is the major innovation behind microservices. Okay, so now there's like the another thing, data engineering. I believe you guys know about it, but if you really want me to tell a bit more about it, I'm definitely going to tell you. But in a nutshell, data engineering is actually the development of information systems, the things that you see right now in front of you. There was a concept of ERP systems before. So these ERP systems right now sitting in the market, they are they are designed in a more modern way, which actually introduces the data engineering within that cycle of development, where you're going to see now the information is handled more intelligently compared to the way that it was handled back in like 10 years. So it's not only the ERP system, but as a total individual and isolated domain, data engineering plays a lot of good role in other domains as well. So I just was working in a company, and they were like working in a very scalable product where they had 1 petabyte of data. And the problem they actually were facing, let me tell you the name of the company, it was Ford. So they were actually facing a lot of problem in injecting the data, and to manage that data in the way that it can be like later on used for machine learning. The problem was this, that the data took a lot of time in the way of processing and in the way of injecting. When I say injecting, it's the same way that a doctor injects you. It's actually the data being pushed from one database to another database, and to run some sort of events. That events can include analysis sort of things. So they just decided to go with the proper flow of data engineering, and they went for PySpark. They went for cluster analysis, and these all techniques were actually under the umbrella of data engineering. And then we have data ops. Most of the people over here who are actually working as a DevOps engineer, they would know about this term, because DevOps has become a lot of it has become a lot more capacious than it used to be. It's like a lot of things now. We see a lot of new services in AWS, Azure, and they're like much more things out there like Linode. I know that they're like most of the times you see Azure, Google Cloud, GCP, Google Cloud is the same thing. Like AWS, these are the things that you see in the market. They're like hitting the roofs right now. But if you go and you search for a single service, you are going to notice that there are like a lot more than that cloud platforms right now, and most out of them are actually concentrating on data ops. They provide you with the databases services, the distributed systems. There's like new concept of GraphQL, and they're like graph databases as well. So you're going to notice that it's a great opportunity to learn these new things and new products. Coming to the other topic, so now there's like more things that I've added over here. It's like the cloud computing. When we say cloud computing, most of the times they're like different terms that are colliding in that head of yours. So it's like, uh, Wajahat, you have just thought about this data ops, and when you say cloud computing, don't you think that it's the same thing? So when I say cloud computing, it's actually the umbrella that covers data ops as well. It's a very vast field. You can say it's the same field that we see. It has the same key concept that we have for data sciences, because in data sciences there is data engineering, data visualization, everything that is related to data. It comes under the umbrella of data sciences. The same way, anything that is being touched by the cloud, it definitely comes under the umbrella of cloud computing. So the cloud computing is actually the on-demand availability of computer system resources. When I say resources, it does cover all the things in data ops, and especially the data storage and computing power without direct active management by the user. So the cloud computing over here is actually, let me talk about the specific infrastructure right over here. When I talk about AWS, you're going to notice that the AWS is heavily using Python. And I believe that you have heard about Boto or not, but you don't have to worry about it still if you don't have any idea about it. Actually, Boto is the library that is written in Python, and we can use that library to make different resources to interact with different services of AWS. And let me add something over here that AWS CLI, whenever we are writing the commands on the terminal using the AWS CLI utility, when we when we write the command and when we execute it, at the background, there's this API that is sitting, which calls the resources, and that API is written in Python. So the SDK that interacts with the AWS CLIs is actually written on Python. So you can see that the world of cloud computing is now actually concentrating in Python as well. So it has got a lot of good, a lot of good things in Boto. I've seen that like bunch of things there in Boto. You're going to notice that they're like event handlers. They're like different sort of services like SCS. You have got these lambdas executions. Each and everything is mapped in Python. And coming to the next point, automation. When we say automation, so the automation is something that actually saves a lot of time for those people who are working in IT specifically. So there's the concept over here in our market. When we say IT, it represents a lot of stuff. So the software itself comes within the IT, but most of the times the people, when they say IT, it means the people who are much more near than the networks. The people who are much more near than the hardware systems. So the people who are like much more involved in DevOps. So we usually use the IT people word for those people. So when it comes to automation, Python is playing a great role. There are like bunch of libraries in Python that you can use, utilize. to automate things like creation of the folders in your Linux machines or VMs to interact with the remote servers. It is actually the automation. It goes the same way that the basic C goes in Linux, the way that it talks to kernel. They're like bunch of libraries in Python that are actually communicating with the kernel, and they're issuing the same command the C actually does. So, but the difference over here is this, that C is much more powerful because it's like close to the kernel. And when it comes to Python is actually an interpreter, and in between it actually goes to some of the phases, and then it talks to the kernel. But still, automation is a possibility in Python, and it's actually done. Coming to the next point, when we see IPC, when I say IPC, it's actually the inter-process communication between different systems. So, as I've told you, that microservices or a simple service, we don't call it microservice, we are going to call it service-oriented architecture. So, when we are talking about service-oriented architecture, there should be some sort of network bus involved in that thing that is actually going to allow you to transfer the data. So inter-process communication comes with different terminologies. I haven't written RESTful over here, but RESTful is actually the part of IPC. So gRPC over here is actually the terminology now that is being adopted by Google. And in Google, the different microservices that are over there in the cloud, they actually communicate with each other using this gRPC protocol. Okay, and there is one more terminology, sorry, for IPC, and it's pubs up. It's like publish and subscribe. So it's the same way when I give you something, you have to publish it and you subscribe that thing. It's like the two-way thing. And most of the times, the microservices, they are relying on this IPC style, that is actually the publish and subscribe. And then we have got the sockets. So these sockets are like uh, two-way bindings where we have no limitations of stateless positions. It's like no stateless states at that point. So whenever you're like conversing with somebody using a messenger or using any sort of platform, do remember this, that the IPC that is being used behind that is the WebSockets. It's a concept of WebSockets. Whenever you're chatting, there is this socket implementation that exists over there, and it allows you to send your message within no time of processing, or to have to wait for the request and to give that response. So this is actually the two-way thing. And as I have told you about the RESTful APIs, when we talk about RESTful APIs, most of the times the RESTful APIs actually are implemented using the protocol that is HTTP. So HTTP is actually the stateless protocol. So it's like whenever I'm talking to you guys, if I ask you a question, I won't ask you the other question if you don't respond me. Like, I would be waiting for your response. So this is the same way the HTTP works. It sends the request and waits for the response, and when the response comes, then it does something. Okay, so this is the process of IPC. Okay, so let us talk about the objective, that what are things that are going to be introduced in this specific course for you people. As I've told you earlier, that I'm actually going to tell you about the basics of Python. You don't have to worry about it. It is something that is very mandatory. Whenever I'm going to start a course, I'm going to tell you guys about the basic concepts of Python and different techniques, way to utilize the modern things in Python's, like the like comprehension list that can be used despite of making for loops and then appending that thing, the same thing in the list. So I'm going to introduce you to different tools that are there in the Python, so you don't have to worry about the basics. But the the primary reason for this course would be to introduce you people with different flavors that are sitting there in the market, and they are actually the future of technology. So let us see what things are going to be there in the courses. So I'm going to start with the microservices concept, where I'm going to teach you guys about Flask, Django, ORM, and different microservices patterns. So when I say Flask, it's actually the same thing that is Django. It's the backend framework. It's the micro framework. Most of the times when we say microservices, deployments or developments, there are like a lot of services sitting on the cloud right now that are developed on Flask. People go for Flask because it's actually the micro framework right now. And Django is actually also used in microservices, but when it comes to handle the powerful stuff, then we surely go for Django because it has a self-managed way to handle things. And coming to the next topic, it's like the data engineering, and we are going to see pandas and prestodb. Prestodb is actually the massive parallel processing technique, and it's actually the product of Facebook, the same way that we have React. Then I'm going to explore data ops. We're going to see serverless DB of Azure. We are going to see document oriented DB, MongoDB, and a lot of more different distributed databases systems that are there on the cloud. And then we are going to see cloud computing. We are going to see how VMs are controlled, and we are going to see the Boto 3. As I have told you about Boto 3, Boto 3 is actually the library introduced by AWS uh, for Python to interact with different sort of resources. So I would be like creating some of the resources on AWS, and would be utilizing the Boto 3 to tell you people that how we can interact with different services in AWS, and we can automate things. And when it comes on automation, definitely we're going to see PyTest, that how we can do automation of different stuff that already exist over there, and we can use that. And then there is this OS package in Python. We are going to discover how we can utilize this to create new folders, to delete something. It's the automation process most of the times to delete, to make a new project, you know. So and then coming to the next point, IPC, inter-process communication. We are going to study over here Redis streams. We're going to see the pub sub using RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ is the is the most distinguished and indispensable technology right now sitting in the market. It's actually, you can say, a message broker, but it has improved itself a lot. So it has a lot of new stuff within that. So we're going to use a library that is Pika. It's actually the library used by Python to interact with RabbitMQ. And then we are going to see the gRPC protocols using Python. Okay, so everything actually comes up with the price. Your time is money. So let me tell you different different things over here, that whenever you're going to learn something, you really want the outcome out of it, because you are sitting over here investing in the course. You really want to see the outcome. So this is the section that I have designed for you to tell you about how much, you know how much money is earned by these people if they are good at their work. So, talking about the microservices developer, you can see that they actually charge $65 per hour, and this is actually the international market right now. So most of the times I have seen people sitting in Pakistan, they do say that the market is, whatever we see in on Google, it's just it's just a rumor. It's not like that, but actually it is real. Whenever you apply for a remote job, like sitting on Stack Overflow, you're going to notice that at the left or right side of the bar, you're going to notice there are like multiple jobs offered there. So these are the jobs that actually meet the standard salaries. So whatever I am going to tell you over here are actually the standard salaries. And I know a lot of people in my circle. I know my friends, they're like working in different big companies that actually organize. their workflow using the remote procedure. So this is actually the developer survey for microservices, and you can see that they like earn a lot of money. And when it comes to data engineer, they're like also making I I mean they're like making $1 lakh a year, more than that. Like, and then when it comes on the data ops engineer, they're like making $92,000 annually. And when it comes to cloud computing, it is actually $56 per hour. So this hourly rate, most of the times when you're doing freelancing on Upwork, you're going to notice people over there, they give their services on the basis of hours. So this is like the the middle, you can say the average average price of an hour right now. And coming ahead, you're going to see there is this automation engineer, and he can like earn $91,000 annually. Yeah, so this is all what I've got. Sorry about not having a lot of content, because my focus was to tell you about what is going on and what is important for you people, and to tell you that what are topics that I am going to cover.